최근 혈당 관리가 다이어트의 트렌드로 자리 잡히면서 혈당과 당뇨, 나아가서는 인슐린에 대한 관심이 높아지고 있는 것 같습니다. 사실 탄수화물 섭취를 제한적으로 가져가는 키토인들에게 혈당 관리는 그리 어려운 일이 아닙니다. 하지만 평범한 사람이 당뇨병을 치료하기 위해 주식처럼 먹어온 탄수화물을 하루아침에 절반 혹은 3분의 1로 줄이는 키토식을 선택하는 건 쉽게 결정할 수 있는 일이 아니며 상당한 용기가 필요합니다. 그런데 우리가 흔히 생각하는 키토 식단은 사실 한 가지 유일한 방식만 있는 게 아닙니다. 키토 식단에도 여러 가지 버전과 유연한 접근 방식이 존재한다는 점을 이해하게 된다면 이 식단을 훨씬 가볍고 부담 없이 시작해 볼 수 있을 것입니다. 캠베리 박사는 당뇨병을 치료하기 위해 먼저 어떤 영양소를 가장 주의해야 하는지를 이야기합니다.
Can you really reverse type 2 diabetes, cure it even with just changes in your diet? This is a very important question, especially if you suffer from prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. You may have seen some news articles lately about people who claim to have done this. The answer is yes. Yes, you can. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician, and I've been helping patients with type 2 diabetes for over 20 years. But only in the last few years have I been able to help people actually reverse, cure, get rid of their type 2 diabetes permanently. And I want to share with you in this short video exactly how it's done. There's more and more research being published showing just this thing, that it is possible to fix your type 2 diabetes with diet. There's a recent study by my good friend, Dr. David Unwin from the UK, where he's actually doing this with his patients in the clinic on a daily basis. Now, as this topic becomes more popular, which it's sure to do, there's going to be people popping up all over trying to sell you a type 2 diabetes reversal course for $5.99, or a bunch of supplements that you need for just $99, or some other product that they're claiming that you need in order to reverse your type 2 diabetes. And heads up, none of that stuff is necessary. You don't need to spend a penny extra to completely cure your type 2 diabetes with diet. So I wanted to just break this down very simply for you so that you can do it at home. You can actually start today. Right now, you can start to reverse your type 2 diabetes. So there are basically 3 macronutrients in all the food we eat. There is fat, there is protein, and there are carbohydrates. Now, fat does not raise your blood sugar at all when you eat it. Protein raises your blood sugar a little bit, but not much. And carbohydrates, those are the things which are basically long chains of sugar. They spike your blood sugar. And when you're eating multiple meals a day with too many carbohydrates, you're going to have high blood sugar all the time. And this is going to glycate or gum up all the cells and tissues in your body. And doctors actually check this with a test called a hemoglobin A1C. And this is the test that most doctors use to diagnose and to follow and to manage type 2 diabetes. So we've already established that fat doesn't really raise your blood sugar at all. So it's not involved with type 2 diabetes. Protein raises it a little, but it's necessary. You have to eat protein to build all the different structures of your body, and it doesn't raise it that much. So doesn't it make common sense that if you want to get your blood sugar back down to normal, get your A1C back down to normal, that's the definition of reversing type 2 diabetes, then you want to eat a diet that's much lower in carbohydrates than the diet that you were eating that gave you type 2 diabetes to begin with. Now, there is a degree of genetics that increase your risk of becoming type 2 diabetic, but this is just the genetics is just putting bullets in the gun. The genetics never pull the trigger. It's your diet that pulled the trigger that made you a type 2 diabetic. Your gut microbiome may play some unknown small role in this as well, but we know for a fact that when you eat too many carbohydrates for your personal physiology, that you will raise your blood sugar, and if it stays elevated for long enough, you will develop type 2 diabetes. So what do you need to do? So the first step is to eliminate all sugars from your diet, all grains from your diet, and vegetable seed oils from your diet. Remove all these things from your diet. And you're going to add to your diet more red meat, more seafood, and more eggs, always with the yolk, because remember, the fat in the yolk does not raise your blood sugar.
혈당에 영향을 주는 요소는 음식만이 아닙니다. 하지만 우리가 먹는 음식을 빼놓고는 혈당 조절에 관해 논할 수 없습니다. 왜냐하면 음식을 먹는 것이야말로 혈당을 가장 직접적으로 강하게 자극하는 행위이기 때문입니다. 가장 큰 영향을 주는 요인부터 제대로 짚은 뒤에 스트레스, 장내 미생물처럼 상대적으로 부수적인 요소들을 살펴보는 것이 타당한 접근 순서일 것입니다. 우리에게 필요한 세 가지 주요 영양소는 탄수화물, 단백질, 그리고 지방입니다. 그래서 이들을 흔히 3대 영양소라고도 부르고 요즘엔 줄여서 탄단지라고 표현을 하기도 하죠. 이 중에서 혈당에 가장 큰 영향을 주는 건 단연 탄수화물입니다. 물론 모든 탄수화물이 우리 몸에 똑같이 영향을 주는 건 아닙니다. 예를 들어 식이섬유가 들어있는 탄수화물은 설탕보다 혈당을 천천히 높이겠죠. 하지만 이것은 마치 알코올 중독을 이야기하면서 소주가 나쁜지 막걸리가 더 나쁜지를 따지는 것과 비슷합니다. 알코올 중독을 극복하려면 어떤 종류든 술 자체를 끊는 게 우선입니다. 탄수화물이 술처럼 무조건 유해한 것은 아니지만 당뇨병을 관리하기 위해서는 탄수화물도 이와 비슷한 관점으로 바라봐야 합니다. 하지만 다행스럽게도 알코올 중독자가 술을 끊어야 하는 것과는 달리 우리는 당뇨병을 치료하기 위해 탄수화물을 완전히 끊을 필요는 없습니다. 섭취하는 비율과 빈도수만 적절히 조절한다면 우리는 탄수화물을 섭취하면서도 충분히 건강을 회복하고 당뇨병을 개선해 나갈 수 있습니다. 이제 캠베리 박사는 이러한 원리를 바탕으로 당뇨병 치료를 위한 구체적인 식단 가이드라인을 제시합니다.
So the question then becomes, well, how many carbohydrates total should I eat a day in order to cure my type 2 diabetes? And the answer is, it depends. And so I talk about my way of eating as a proper human diet. And indeed, it has helped thousands of people cure their type 2 diabetes. And so at the bottom of the screen, you'll see this line, okay? Now, some people who are very young, very metabolically healthy, they can get away with eating 100 total grams of carbohydrates a day if the majority of these carbohydrates come from vegetables and berries and maybe a few fruits. Some people have to turn down their carbohydrate intake to 50 total grams a day, some to 20, some to 0. I used to have prediabetes and I used to be severely obese. And I reversed both of those conditions by following the exact information that I'm giving you for free in this video. So if you're young and metabolically healthy, then calculate how many carbohydrates, total carbohydrates, not net. Food manufacturers and supplement manufacturers love to talk about net carbs because it helps them sell products. But what you want to count is total carbohydrates in every bite of food that you eat. And if you come up with a number like 150 total grams a day, 200, 250, 350, some people out there, you know who you are, then you want to turn down that carbohydrate intake to 100 total grams of carbohydrates a day. Now, you don't even need those 100 grams, but many young people can tolerate 100 total grams of carbs a day. So I want you to eat that diet. And so you're going to eat until you're comfortably stuffed. You're not going to portion control. You're not going to calorie count. You can eat 3 meals a day or you can eat 2 meals a day, because if you do eat 2 meals a day, then that increases the amount of time that you're fasting each day. And that's going to help you cure your type 2 diabetes even faster. But if you want to start with 3 meals a day, that's fine. And you want half of your plate covered with meat and eggs with the yolk, fatty meat preferably. And then if you want some veg, that's fine. If you want a few nuts, a few berries, that's fine. That's 100 total grams of carbs a day. Do that 2 or 3 times each day. Do that for 90 days and then go back to your doctor and say, hey, doctor, I need you to recheck my labs. I have changed my diet. I want you to check an A1C and a fasting insulin. You'll want both of those numbers. So if that 100 total grams of carbs a day, if it got your A1C and your fasting insulin down to normal levels, congratulations, you have cured your type 2 diabetes. And as long as you keep your diet on the proper human diet spectrum of less than 100 total grams of carbs a day, you'll never develop type 2 diabetes again. Now, some people have to go down to 50 total grams of carbohydrates a day. And so if after 90 days of the 100 total grams, you still have an elevated A1C and still have an elevated fasting insulin, then that's not low carb enough for you. So you're going to go down to 50 total grams of carbs a day. Now let's take a minute and talk about the A1C test. So the A1C test, it checks a 3-month average roughly of what your blood sugar has been running 24 hours a day for those 3 months. And so if your A1C is 6.5 or higher, that's the definition of type 2 diabetes. You have type 2 diabetes. If your A1C is above 5.6, so if it's 5.7 up to 6.4, that's pre-diabetes. So many of you guys, after eating 90 days of less than 100 total grams, you won't have type 2 anymore because it'll be less than 6.5. So after 90 days of the 50 total grams, go back and get an A1C and a fasting insulin. If they're both normal, hot damn, you fixed it. You cured your type 2 diabetes, and as long as you eat 50 or less total grams of carbs for the rest of your life, it'll never come back. If, however, that improved your A1C, which it most certainly will, but it didn't fix it completely, then you may need to turn it down to 20 total grams of carbs a day. Many people have to do this in order to cure their type 2 diabetes. And so you're going to just decrease the carbohydrate containing veg and fruits and berries and nuts, and you're going to increase the fatty red meat, the seafood, and the eggs with yolk to make them a higher percentage of your diet. And so you're going to eat 20 total grams or less of carbohydrate a day, and you're going to do that for 90 days. Then you're going to go back to your sweet doctor and say, hey, check an A1C and a fasting insulin. Let's see where we are. And for the vast majority of people, this is going to be the 90 days where you wind up with a normal A1C and a normal fasting insulin. There are, however, a few people like me who any amount of carbohydrate is too much carbohydrate for mine and perhaps your personal physiology. And I have to eat as close to 0 grams of total carbs a day as possible in order to keep my belly where I want it to be, which is not done lapping over my belt, in order to keep my A1C where I want it to be, in order to keep my fasting insulin where it needs to be for me to live a long, healthy life. And so for those of you like me, then you're going to eat a carnivore diet. That's what that's going to wind up being. It's going to be fatty meat, it's going to be seafood, and it's going to be eggs with the yolk, and that'll make up 100% of your diet. Now, if you're eating that low in carbohydrates, you can certainly get by with 2 meals a day because the fat and the protein are very satiating. You're not going to have to eat 3 meals a day, and that's also going to increase the amount of time that you're intermittent fasting each and every day, which is going to help get those numbers down even quicker. So at the end of that 90 days, you're going to go back to the doc one more time and say, okay, my friend, check it again, A1C and fasting insulin, and let's see where we are. Now,
캠베리 박사는 90일 동안 하루 탄수화물 섭취량을 100g으로 줄여보고 그래도 수치가 개선되지 않으면 50g, 그 다음은 20g, 그리고 마지막에는 탄수화물을 전혀 섭취하지 않는 식단으로 전환하라고 가이드합니다. 사실 이 단계별 접근은 우리가 흔히 알고 있는 저탄수화물 식단의 스펙트럼을 정확히 반영하고 있습니다. 다른 영상에서도 자주 언급했지만 우리가 흔히 저탄고지라고 말하는 식단은 하루 탄수화물 섭취량에 따라 여러 이름으로 분류됩니다. 탄수화물 100g 내외를 섭취하는 저탄수화물 식단, 50g 내외를 섭취하는 키토제닉 식단, 그리고 무탄수화물에 가까운 카니보어 식단이 바로 그것입니다. 이 식단은 모두 저탄수화물 식단이라는 큰 카테고리 안에 속해 있는 방식입니다. 이 식단은 각 개인의 탄수화물에 대한 민감도와 대사 상태, 그리고 당뇨병의 진행 정도에 따라 다르게 적용될 수 있습니다. 모든 식단에는 장단이 존재하며 한 가지 방식이 절대적으로 더 우월하다고 말할 수는 없습니다. 캠베리 박사는 이 가이드를 당뇨병 환자를 위해 제시하고 있지만 이것은 키토식을 실천하는 모든 사람들에게 적용할 수 있는 아주 현실적인 단계별 전략이기도 합니다. 저는 늘 점진적인 방식, 그리고 현실적으로 지속 가능한 키토 식단을 강조해 왔습니다. 사실 탄수화물을 100g 이하로 줄이는 식단만으로도 대부분 살이 빠지고 여러 건강 지표가 개선되는 결과를 만들어낼 수 있다고 생각합니다. 이렇게 저탄수화물 식단에 충분히 적응하고 나면 그 다음은 이 식단을 유지할지 아니면 탄수화물을 더 줄이는 키토나 카니보어로 전환할지 고민해 볼 수 있습니다. 그리고 어떤 선택을 하던 처음보다는 그 과정을 훨씬 수월하게 진행할 수 있을 것입니다. 하지만 일반적인 고탄수화물 위주의 식단을 하던 분들이 책에서 본 그대로의 키토나 카니보어 식단으로 섣불리 시작한다면 체내 대사 시스템이 이를 감당하지 못해 여러 부작용에 시달릴 수 있습니다. 하지만 캠베리 박사의 가이드처럼 점진적으로 그리고 충분한 적응 기간을 두고 진행한다면 고통스러운 부작용 없이 이 식단을 건강하게 실천할 수 있을 것입니다.
For probably 95% of the population, that's going to be it. You're going to cure your type 2 diabetes at that point. For a very few people, they may have to do the carnivore diet for 90 days. They may have to do it for 180 days. They may have to do it for 270 days to give their metabolism time to heal. But having this spectrum, this proper human diet spectrum of carbohydrate intake, I think is a very powerful tool and a very simple tool to understand. If the amount of carbohydrates you ate in the last 90 days. If that's still too much, turn it down. And when you've done that enough times, you will have cured your type 2 diabetes. Now, there's a very, very few of you people out there who have actually been misdiagnosed by your doctor. You were told that you had type 2 diabetes, but what you actually have is type 1 diabetes, or LADA. And the way you'll know that is when you check that fasting insulin, it will be 0 or essentially 0, meaning that your pancreas is not making any insulin. Now you're starting to see why that fasting insulin is important. If it's running really high, that means you're still eating too many carbohydrates for your personal physiology. But if it's 0, then you're a type 1 diabetic and you're going to have to inject insulin to ever get a normal A1C. So if you were able, after your 90 days, to reverse and cure your type 2 diabetes with 100 total grams of carbs a day, congratulations. Also, we're all jealous of you, because many of us can't eat that many carbohydrates or we'll start to develop prediabetes again. If you had to cut it down to 50 or even 20 total grams of carbs, then what you're eating is a ketogenic diet. And what you will discover on this journey is not that there's something wrong with you or that you're broken or that your genetics are messed up. What you're going to find is that you were just eating too many carbohydrates for your personal physiology. And those carbohydrates were acting as a slow poison that were gumming up your cells and tissues, making them not work properly and increasing your risk for lots of devastating chronic diseases, up to and including heart attack and stroke. Hope this video helps you cure your type 2 diabetes. This is Dr. Berry. I'll see you next time.
캠베리 박사는 2010년경부터 키토 식단을 10년 이상 실천해 왔다고 합니다. 그러다 어느 시점부터는 소량의 탄수화물조차도 자신의 건강에 영향을 준다고 느꼈고 2020년경부터는 카니보어 식단을 실천하고 있습니다. 하지만 엄격한 카니보어를 실천하는 그 역시도 사람들의 약 80%는 키토 식단만으로도 충분히 좋은 결과를 얻을 수 있다고 이야기합니다. 저는 카니보어가 감량을 위한 식단이라기보다는 치료식에 가깝다고 생각합니다. 그래서 이 식단 자체를 반대하지는 않지만 단순히 빠른 감량을 위해 선택하는 것은 추천하지 않습니다. 모든 식단에는 장단점이 존재합니다. 물론 카니보어가 가장 극적인 결과를 만들어낼 수도 있습니다. 하지만 탄수화물을 철저히 배제해야 하는 만큼 지속적인 실천을 하는 데 있어서는 가장 난이도가 높은 식단입니다. 대부분의 외식이 제한되며 가족과의 식사나 사회적 관계에서도 감수해야 할 불편함이 커집니다. 저는 하루에 100g가량의 탄수화물을 섭취하는 저탄수화물 식단을 하고 있습니다. 저는 이 식단이 건강 측면에서 최고의 식단이라고 생각하지는 않습니다. 하지만 지금의 저에게는 이 방식이 스트레스 없이 평생 실천 가능하면서 보통 이상의 건강을 유지할 수 있는 최적의 식단이라고 생각합니다. 여기서 지금의 나에게 맞는 최적의 방법이라는 말을 꼭 곱씹어 보셨으면 합니다. 예를 들면 저는 매일 강도 높은 운동을 하고 건장한 체격을 가지고 있습니다. 종종 불규칙하게 식사를 하고 가끔 많은 양의 탄수화물을 먹더라도 저는 이것을 쉽게 소비하면서 케토시스 상태를 유지할 수 있습니다. 하지만 제가 나이를 먹으면서 근육량이 줄어들고 소화력 같은 대사 기능이 떨어진다면 탄수화물을 포함해 전체적인 식사량을 줄여야 할 수도 있겠죠. 이렇게 식단은 각자의 상황에 맞게 조정해 나가야 합니다. 더 빡세게 한다고, 더 많이 금지하고 제한한다고 해서 항상 더 좋은 결과를 가져오는 것은 아닙니다. 한 번에 완벽한 정답을 찾으려 하지 말고 급하게 마음먹지 말고 자신의 몸 상태를 살펴가며 차근차근 이 식단을 생활에 녹여내 보시기 바랍니다. 이상한 다이어트였습니다.